Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing a recently read and currently reading. I have not done one of these since like 2 months ago, and in that time I've read 6 novels and 1 graphic novel, which is not my usual, but you know, school and finals. Hey guys, so I just want to let you know that while I was editing this, I realized that I made my 4th one of these a month ago, so that's pretty cool. So you can click this box over here if you want to watch that one beforehand. You obviously don't have to though. I'll leave the link down below as well if you're interested. I'm not going to be telling you these in a chronological order. I'm just going to be telling you these from the order that they are on my lap, so here we go. We'll start with Chew, the one graphic novel that I read, and this is about a detective named Tony Chew. Tony Chew is a cybopath, which basically means that anything that he eats, he will immediately know of its origin. So that's okay when he's eating like vegetables and fruits, but when he eats meat, it's an entirely different story. So the FDA takes him on basically to eat really gross food, sometimes like human fingers and whatnot, in order to get the origin and to catch the bad guys. This book was good. Definitely not my favorite graphic novel. I think I gave it like 3 stars. I think that's just more so about the way that I personally like reading graphic novels. I like when graphic novels have one overarching arc, if that makes any sense. I don't know how else to say that. I like when there's one plot and they stick to it and I get to, you know, hear the stories of all the different characters and I get to really delve into them like I would a regular novel. But then again, this is the first volume as well, so they also had to get a lot of initial getting to know you sort of stuff in there as well. So this one was okay, definitely not my favorite, but there are a lot more volumes and I've heard really good things about this series. So if you guys have read them, let me know if I should keep going. I do have 2, 3, and 4 out from the library as well, so if I should keep going, let me know. I did really like Tony Chew as a character. He's very sarcastic and just funny. I liked him as a character a lot, so let me know if I should continue. Now, it is debatable that Red Shirts is my favorite novel that I've read so far this year, and I want to do a book talk about it, but I don't know if I should because it's been about a few months since I've read this, but I've done like 2 essays on it already, and I'm about to do a 3rd that's due on Tuesday. Red Shirts is by John Scalzi, and it is a satire or a parody, I would say a parody of Star Wars and Star Trek. If you are not into that stuff, you should still definitely read this because it is still hilarious and so well written, and the perfect example of metafiction, fiction within fiction. So if you are into that, if you're into like books and media, this is literally perfect. I'm just going to tell you the plot, not necessarily what I loved about this novel in case I do a book talk, but it is about Andy Dull, and he gets an assignment onto the Intrepid, which is just a spaceship within the galaxy. Him and a few other of the new people on the ship start to notice quirky, weird things happening on the ship. Like sometimes things that aren't scientifically possible just happen out of nowhere. People that were supposed to be dead like 50 times over are still alive and up and running. Sometimes characters are overly dramatic when they don't need to be. They start to question why, and then they figure it out, and things are just crazy and so hilarious all the time, and the characters are so good and you go so attached to them, and I just love it so much. Please read this if you haven't, or at least consider it. I'm definitely going to be reading more John Scalzi because he intimidated me before, and now, you know, there's nothing to be intimidated about. This is the most accessible book ever. It's so great. And this is another 5 out of 5 stars book actually. This is The Sea of Tranquility by Katja Millay. Totally different book. This is a young adult contemporary dealing with 2 characters, Josh and Nastya, and they are 2 broken teenagers. They both have separate backstories where they've had hardships in their lives, and then they come together and fall in love. And this is a plot that's very clearly stated on the back cover. So you would think if you already know the ending, if they're already gonna fall in love, why on earth would I read this book? Because the progression is the most perfect story progression that I've ever seen in any story ever. If you are into young adult contemporary with hardships, this book is literally, it does it so perfectly. So perfectly. Yes, it is a slow read, but you don't mind that because the characters are so fantastic. They are themselves. Like, they have had hardships in their past, but their hardships don't define them as characters. The characters are great, and the relationship is so slow and steady, it's not even funny. So everything's happening at the exact time when it is supposed to be happening, and obviously it's just a beautiful story. It was beautifully written, and I really liked it. If you are into young adult contemporary, totally pick it up. The next one is Hit by Delilah S. Dawson, and I have a book discussion on this, so if you would like to see that, I will link it down below. This one I gave 4 out of 5 stars, and it is about this girl. Her name is Patsy, and basically this is a dystopian novel, and this bank, Valor Bank, has taken over America, and basically they give you 3 choices if you are in debt, because they don't want anyone to be in debt anymore. They go to people's houses, give them 3 choices. Either they could pay the debt in full, they become a bounty hunter for Valor Bank, or they could, you know, kill you because they don't want you to be in debt anymore. If that doesn't make sense to you, please, you know, check out the book talk, because I am a lot more comprehensive within that video. But this book was really great because it was super action-packed. Patsy is a great kick-ass female character, which we all love. And it's great. I really enjoyed it. It was just very, very fun. So if you're into fun dystopians, this is awesome. It is going to be a trilogy, so if that throws you off, see how you feel about the plot, because I'm totally gonna read the second book. I really enjoyed it. Next one I read is Breathing Room by Marcia Hales. Middle grade book. This girl has tuberculosis. She goes into a center where other children have tuberculosis. Basically, it's this place where, you know, not many children survive and not many people get better, but they strive to try and make these people better. I'm very surprised that this book isn't taught in a lot more schools. I gave it like a 3.5 star overall, and it was really, really good. Like, the characters were all completely different and they were all really wonderful. Then at the same time though, I learned so much about tuberculosis. I had no idea about anything about that disease at all. It's a great story, really beautiful. It has to do with people in like a treatment center, so if you're into that sort of setting, which I definitely am, this is a really good fast-paced book, and I got it off of Book Outlet, so it was super cheap. Next book that I read is This Guy Is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. I had read her other novel last year and really, really enjoyed it. It was a 5 out of 5 stars. This one was a 4 out of 5 stars for me, but still very, very enjoyable. It is about this girl named Lenny, and her sister committed suicide, and she is trying to deal with that, along with dealing with the aftermath of that. Like, trying to survive happily without feeling guilty that her sister is no longer there with her. And that's the main focus of it, like what should she do now, which I thought was very important and very wonderful. She felt a lot of guilt, which also felt very real, and for very real reasons too. Sometimes I was questioning her motives as a reader. I think it's great that that book made me do that. I was just like, what are you doing? But at the same time, I couldn't generally understand her motives because I've never been in her situation before, which I thought was really interesting. I think the previous book that I read from her broke me more personally because I related to it a lot more. I didn't relate to this one as much because, you know, I don't have someone close to me that committed suicide, but it was definitely a heart-wrenching book. If you're into that, young adult contemporary, Jandy Nelson is fantastic for that. And the last book that I have here that I read is The One and Only Ivan, which is another middle grade book, and it is about Ivan, who is a gorilla. Ivan lives in a mall circus, so basically it's not like this beautiful circus or this beautiful, what do they call those things, zoos. Ivan is in a mall circus, which is cramped, and they don't really treat them very well. Basically, he stays in his cage all day, and you get to hear what he is thinking, and it's super sad, and he meets animal friends along the way, obviously, that are in this circus, and Ivan's thoughts are incredibly thought-provoking, and I think that they really express more about humans than they do about animals, and it's such a beautiful book, not only for middle grade readers to read, but literally everybody. It's very, very good. That is it. I hope you guys are having it. Oh, I didn't tell you what I'm currently reading. Let me do that because it's phenomenal. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. I figured I needed to read this because the movie is coming out in June and so many good people are going to be in it, and I've just heard great things in general about it. But as I'm reading this, I'm getting more and more nervous that the movie is not going to be like the book, which I know I shouldn't think like that. You know, one art is separate from another, but I can't help it because I'm growing so in love with this book. I'm about halfway through, and I wish I had time just to like read it all in one sitting because I would so do that because it is so hilarious so far. Yeah, so other side note while I'm editing this, I've finished Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by the time that you're seeing this, and 5 out of 5 stars. It, like, literally everybody read it ever. I really, really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the distinct voice that the main character had, and I enjoyed everything Everything was beautiful and perfect, and not in a way that you would think that a cancer story would be, but in a just hilarious, wonderful way. It's the only book other than Dash and Lily's Book of Dares that just made me happy the entire time reading it. Please tell me in the comments what you guys are currently reading or what you have recently read. Tell me if you have read any of these books and what your opinions are of them, and I hope you guys are having an awesome day, and I will see you soon. Bye!